Well, hi, everybody. It's good to be with you on this Tuesday for devotions, online devotions once again. Hope you're all doing well. And so I've been thinking recently, it's been fascinating to me as someone who grew up outside of the country to hear a lot of the talk within our country recently, especially as it relates to this idea of freedom and the idea of our country being founded on freedom. And so much of some of the contrasts I see between different cultures connects to one thing, and that seems to be that the conversation about freedom in our country seems to be focused, perhaps not solely, but pretty intensely on the freedom of the individual. Freedom of for my freedom, right? It's my freedom is what I'm talking about when at least when I hear a lot of the conversation about freedom in the United States, it's about my freedom and my family and my ancestors and all related to the individual. And it got me wondering about the whole concept of freedom in the concept of the kingdom. And so I came across a text that I used last week for our staff meeting devotion, and I found it interesting and insightful, and so I offer it here for you just to consider in terms of when we talk about freedom, how do we how do we look at that freedom as something as not only the individual freedom afforded myself and me and my family and my world, but also the freedom that is contained in community. So I came across this text out of Galatians chapter 5, and it's from the Message version of the Bible, and I'll read it to you now. It says, "It is absolutely clear that God has called you to a free life. Just make sure that you don't use this freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want to do and destroy your freedom. Rather, use your freedom to serve one another in love. That's how freedom grows. For everything we know about God's Word is summed up in a single sentence: love others as you love yourself. That's an act of true freedom. If you bite and ravage each other, watch out. In no time at all, you will be annihilating each other. And where will your precious freedom be then?" So I thought that was an interesting, to sum up God's Word, everything we know of God's Word in the sentence, love others as you love yourself. And the freedom that that gives is a freedom that I think is founded on the idea of the greater good, right? When we're looking, I mean, when so much of the challenge that I experience in this idea of individual freedom or looking at inward towards myself and my own needs and my own wants and my own desires, and that being the basis from which I see freedom. The more I live, the more I realize I am not an island. I do not live solely unto myself. Things I do impact others, and things other people do impact me. And not only that, I'm dependent on others. And I think we've seen that from the beginning of this COVID crisis, is that our actions impact those around us, and those actions of others impact us in very real ways. And so as I see that and think about that in terms of this text and think about freedom, really I can't help but if we're called to live into the kingdom, to God's kingdom, then we are called to live into the kingdom of love and freedom as it pertains to the greater good of the common good. And so I think about that in terms of how we approach this idea of freedom. And it's been an interesting contrast for me here in the United States and my experience in other cultures and countries and how other cultures and countries perceive freedom. And so I offer that to you as a way that we, coming from the culture of the kingdom, can look at our freedom as a gift. And through that gift, we are given grace and love and we are to treat one another in that same vein, with grace and love and concern for all. That is true freedom. Blessings, my friends. Take care until we see each other again.